Welcome to this week's Future Trends. I'm James, an AI representative of the Institute for Economics and Peace. In this week's edition, Pope Leo XIV makes his first appeal for world peace, and China and Russia deepen their partnership against Western influence. We'll examine how private contractors may soon deliver aid to Gaza, why 1 million refugees in Uganda face starvation, and what the dissolution of the Kurdish PKK means for regional stability. Also this week, American support for Israel drops to a 25-year low, Brazil grapples with a scorpion epidemic, and Bill Gates pledges to give away $200 billion. We begin with this week's major political developments. Politics. Pope Leo XIV has called for an end to war in his first Vatican address. The new pope appealed for peace in Ukraine, a ceasefire in Gaza, and welcomed the recent agreement between India and Pakistan. European leaders met President Zelensky in Kiev this week, threatening Russia with massive sanctions unless it agrees to a 30-day ceasefire. The leaders of Germany, France, the UK, and Poland paid tribute to fallen Ukrainian soldiers during their visit. China and Russia have pledged to deepen military and economic cooperation to counter what they describe as U.S. dual containment strategy. China, Russia's largest trading partner, continues to provide economic support, helping Moscow navigate Western sanctions. Lebanon held its first local elections in nearly 10 years, the first since a war that killed 4,000 people. The elections for mayors and municipal councils tested support for political parties, particularly Hezbollah in the country's south. The Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK, has announced its dissolution after 40 years of armed conflict with Turkey. The decision will have significant implications for the region, including Syria, where Kurdish forces are allied with the United States. Conflict. Sudan has cut diplomatic ties with the United Arab Emirates over allegations of arms support to the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary group. The UAE denies providing weapons to the RSF as Sudan's conflict continues. India and Pakistan have agreed to a ceasefire after escalating attacks that brought the nuclear-armed neighbors close to war. The conflict, described as the worst in half a century, ended after diplomatic intervention. Ukrainian drone attacks forced the temporary closure of Moscow's 4 major airports. No casualties were reported as the capital prepared for its May 9th Victory Day parade marking the World War II anniversary. The United States is preparing to use private contractors for humanitarian aid delivery to Gaza as Israel's blockade enters its 3rd month. The UN has raised concerns about this departure from traditional UN-led operations. The Trump administration has designated Haiti's Viv Ansam and Grand Grafe gangs as foreign terrorist organizations. Security experts warn the decision could have unintended consequences for civilians living under gang control. Conflict. Sudan has cut diplomatic ties with the United Arab Emirates over allegations of arms support to the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary group. The UAE denies providing weapons to the RSF as Sudan's conflict continues. India and Pakistan have agreed to a ceasefire after escalating attacks that brought the nuclear-armed neighbors close to war. The conflict, described as the worst in half a century, ended after diplomatic intervention. Ukrainian drone attacks forced the temporary closure of Moscow's 4 major airports. No casualties were reported as the capital prepared for its May 9th Victory Day parade marking the World War II anniversary. The United States is preparing to use private contractors for humanitarian aid delivery to Gaza as Israel's blockade enters its 3rd month. The UN has raised concerns about this departure from traditional UN-led operations. The Trump administration has designated Haiti's Viv Ansam and Grand Grafe gangs as foreign terrorist organizations. Security experts warn the decision could have unintended consequences for civilians living under gang control. Economics. The European Union has published a list of US products for potential retaliatory tariffs if Trump's trade war continues. The list includes Boeing aircraft as the EU prepares for World Trade Organization action. The UK and India have signed a trade deal worth £42.6 billion after 3 years of negotiations. The agreement eases exports of British whiskey and cars while reducing taxes on Indian clothing and footwear imports. Chinese exports to the United States fell 21% in dollar terms last month, despite overall exports rising 8.1%. China's imports declined 0.2% as trade tensions continued to impact bilateral commerce. The US and China have agreed to a 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs. America will reduce duties to 30%, while China lowers its rate to 10%. The agreement excludes tariffs on cars, steel and aluminium. Kenya's government has launched a communications strategy around its annual finance bill, which triggered deadly protests last year. The campaign aims to control public narrative and prevent renewed demonstrations. Development. The UN World Food Programme has stopped food rations for 1 million refugees in Uganda due to Trump administration aid cuts. The agency needs $50 million in emergency funding amid concerns Uganda may begin forced repatriations. The International Rescue Committee is calling for climate funding to be redirected to emergency food programs. In Sudan, 80% of communal kitchens have closed, eliminating food access for millions of people. The UN reports an unsettling slowdown in global development progress since 2024. The UNDP annual report shows post-COVID recovery losing momentum across multiple indicators and regions. US Copyright Office Director Shira Promota has been removed from her position after her office raised concerns about using copyrighted works to train artificial intelligence. The removal follows the recent dismissal of the Librarian of Congress. Nepal continues to struggle with climate disasters while facing USAID funding cuts. The country's earthquake recovery has been hampered by heavy rainfall as government and climate programs work to maintain disaster resilience infrastructure. And finally, in social, Brazilian cities have reported a 155% increase in scorpion sting incidents between 2014 and 2023. Researchers attribute the surge to unplanned urban growth creating ideal conditions for scorpions. The UK Home Office is targeting student visa applicants from Nigeria, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Officials cite concerns these applicants are most likely to overstay and claim asylum under new visa restrictions. American support for Israel has dropped to 46%, the lowest level in 25 years according to Gallup polling. Palestinian sympathy has risen to a record 33%, though politicians from both parties maintain strong alliance rhetoric. Research has revealed chimpanzees have individual drumming styles when pounding rainforest tree roots. Analysis of 371 drumming sessions shows regular rhythms that can be heard over a kilometer through jungle canopy. Bill Gates has announced plans to donate 99% of his wealth by 2045. The Microsoft Founders Foundation will double its giving to $200 billion before dissolving, with Gates stating he's determined he died rich won't be part of his legacy.